Oh, good afternoon and welcome to Live Impact News right here on the 13 News Now app. It is 1 o'clock p.m. on May 25th. It's a Monday, but it's not any normal Monday. It is Memorial Day Monday, and this is an opportunity to honor and remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in order to protect our freedoms here in the United States, those who have given their lives so that we could all live out our own. So that will be a constant theme throughout the show today and hopefully throughout your day as well. Those of you who are home from work and are choosing to spend some time with us, we greatly appreciate it. Those of you who are at work, hey, we're on the same page. We got you. We're here too, and we're going to have a really good 2 hours. We've got Memorial Day events going on. We've got a couple of things that played earlier this morning that we want to get to, and we have a look out at the Virginia Beach oceanfront right now because just now we're in Norfolk here at the station. We just heard the pitter-patter of rain start to come across our roof. And if you look out here in Virginia Beach, you look at that top shot there, right? And it actually looks beautiful in a lot of ways. There's a nice color gradient going on. The sky, while a bit gloomy, is relatively clear. But if you look closely in the foreground, you can see raindrops falling. And then if we take our ground shot from the Dairy Queen on 16th Street, you can tell that now it is really raining down at the oceanfront. Now, that hasn't stopped people from spending some time at the oceanfront. We've got people on the sand, people on the boardwalk. So the rain has not deterred everyone from making moves out on Memorial Day to the Virginia Beach oceanfront. But this gives you an idea of just how rainy it is, whereas that previous shot almost gave the false impression of a little bit of clarity in the skies. But it is raining at the oceanfront, and as we said, it is raining here in Norfolk for the time being. Still warm out, and we have a shot of Newport News as well, where it looks quite hazy over at Christopher Newport University. So we continue to deal with that weather that we've been experiencing all week. And with that, we bring in Taylor Stephenson. Hello, Taylor. How are you?
Connor, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
I know.
What's been going on? Where you been?
Work.
Yeah.
I just
same.
feel like we probably don't have the same schedules. I don't know. It has been a minute since I've been here on Live Impact News. I don't know why, though.
We missed you all last week.
I know. I don't know why, though.
We had a couple days where we just did not have time for weather.
Right.
The
That's
Abby
what it
Zwerner,
was. Yes.
Rich Neck Elementary trial, but that
Yes.
trial come to its conclusion. So now we've got all the time in the world for weather, and that is why we have Taylor Stephenson with us. Taylor, we can see the raindrops in Norfolk behind you. They are really coming down.
Yeah, I was just doing my video. We had to record a video after our noon show just to update our websites. And I had been on the same sky camera for a minute. And it was just like, just gray. When I said, ooh because I saw a very dark cloud that was literally starting to encompass all of Norfolk. And now that dark cloud is spewing a bunch of rain here. You can hear it, as Connor said, on our rooftop. Our producer, Naya, she also is nodding her head in the background saying she can hear the raindrops too. Very heavy rainfall. It's almost reminiscent of a summertime afternoon. I don't know about both of y'all, but when I walked out the door this morning, I said, it is humid. I mean, it's humid. It's noticeably humid.
Yeah.
And I was telling Naya earlier with our senior director, Paige, that it is the time of year where you put your hair up and you don't take it down until you get to about fall. So don't expect to see any of my natural curls for a minute because the humidity just makes my hair turn into a huge afro. But the higher humidity actually leads to heavier downpours. So that's why we're seeing when you feel that higher humidity, that just means our atmosphere is juiced up with a lot of water, and that water is coming down in the way of rainfall. So I do think this background I have for the holiday weekend headlines fairly accurate for what's going on right now.
I thought that was a live look outside.
Oh, no, that's just an animated graphic. We love that technology is looking more realistic these days. So we have more rain chances today, obviously, now, through tomorrow, and again on Wednesday. Now, the pick of the week from Hunter and from Craig is Friday. Friday is going to be the only dry day we have of the next 7. So if you want to get some sunshine, if you want to get some temperatures in the 80s and like soaking in, maybe go on a little walk or, just read a book outdoors, do it on Friday. Go to the pool on Friday, because after that, rain chances return once again as we get into next weekend.
Okay.
So we have a rainy pattern on tap. Now, later on today, or excuse me, I'm preparing it for today. For tomorrow, I'll be talking about the ongoing drought, and I'll show you a look at the drought, and we'll talk more about that and the historic drought, truly, that we're underneath. So the rainfall, and while the timing's not the best, because I'm sure people drove into Hampton Roads to experience some beach weather, I'm sure a lot of people have day off, especially because we are a military and government town. Most people probably do have the day off. Not the greatest holiday off, right? But I will say, if you need a little written note of why I stay on the couch all day, meteorologist Taylor Stephenson will provide that for you, because it is your day to couch rot. I will give you all of that. Bed rot, couch rot, all of that.
Sometimes the rain gives you an excuse to not do anything.
Exactly. You know? And today is one of those excuses. So right now, from our Thompson Creek Window Company sky view, looking from a different angle in Norfolk, and you can kind of see the rain now being splattered on the camera from the showers and thunderstorms. This is our live look, and you see very, very gray as the rain continues. Now, this afternoon, we're 5 to 15 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. What I will say is that this temperature change is much less than it was just about 30 minutes ago. Why is that? It's because temperatures in Newport News and Suffolk actually fell to the mid-70s just now. Rain cools the air, and so when you have rain coming through, that will actually drop temperatures pretty significantly. So I would not be surprised if Norfolk starts to see a huge temperature drop in the next hour or two as the rain cools us down. Now, dew point temperatures are in the mid-70s, so it's extra muggy to pretty much downright disrespectful. You walk out the door, you're like, I'm swimming through the air at this point. Now, those larger dew point numbers, or the higher the dew point number, the more moisture we have in our atmosphere, all part of that front you see sitting over Washington, D.C. It has not really moved that much. It's maybe moved probably like 300 miles since Thursday. So it is a very slow moving front. We call this a stalled front. This front will slowly move back down south and again give us rain chances tomorrow and Wednesday. Right now, here's a look from our satellite and radar, and you can see the ongoing widespread heavy rainfall. We'll take it to the peninsulas first, where Newport News, Poquoson, and some portions of Hampton underneath some heavy rainfall. Same with Gloucester and Gloucester Point, now heading closer to Saluda and Matthews. Eastern Shore, you're fairly dry, a few isolated showers, but look at the direction that these showers and thunderstorms are taking. This is going from southwest to northeast. So if you're in this line, you'll see some rainfall moving through eventually. Now, as you can maybe hear, the rain has stopped a little bit here in Norfolk. These downpours are very quick. So they'll come through, it will pour down raining, and then it will keep on moving. These showers are moving, and showers and thunderstorms are moving quickly to the north and east. Here's a live look from our satellite and radar over central and eastern portions of the south side. And you can see that the heavier the rainfall is going to be in the yellows and oranges and reds, and you can see that encompassing portions of Norfolk, Portsmouth, Chesapeake, Suffolk, into Virginia Beach. Some isolated showers for the Isle of Wight area into Ivor, heading up into Surrey County. Now in North Carolina, some widespread heavy downpours over the Albemarle Sound through Belvedere, Elizabeth City. You are next. Poplar Branch, wouldn't be surprised if we see an isolated heavy downpour moving your direction in the next 20-ish minutes. So widespread rainfall, that continues for the next couple of hours or so. Temperatures will rise to the low 80s and then drop back down to the 70s by about 7 o'clock. Scattered showers continue through the evening time and become more isolated later tonight. Anytime it's not raining from now through the overnight, it will be cloudy. Now with south winds in play, we will have a really warm start to the morning, maybe even a little bit of sunshine if you're around the Outer Banks or in North Carolina. But if you're around the peninsulas and the northern south side, expect for heavy downpours during your morning commute. We also will have breezy conditions. Wind gusts tomorrow morning as high as about 25 miles per hour. Temperature starting off in the 70s. Also will be a very humid day just like today. Tomorrow afternoon, we continue with the isolated scattered showers and with the heat of the day, like you would see on any typical summertime day, even though we're in late spring, we're going to see the bubbling up the showers and thunderstorms, heavy downpours during the afternoon, and then seeing that really dissipate once we get closer to sunset around 8 o'clock. But again, another humid, warm, and rainy day for us tomorrow. Now, overall, through tonight, we could pick up maybe another half an inch. I do think this may even go, I'm sorry, this is through actually Wednesday instead of Monday, so I'll correct that. But we could pick up another 1 to 2 inches of rainfall easily, and we desperately need it here in Hampton Roads. Before I get back into the 5 to 7 day forecast, I do want to show you that drought to show you why I keep saying we desperately need the rain. And it's because of this. And this is a story that I am working on at the moment, and it will get shown tomorrow. But I actually spoke with the National Weather Service this morning, and I asked them, when is the last time we've experienced an extreme drought here in Hampton Roads, northeastern North Carolina, and central Virginia? Because they cover everything from Richmond down to the Outer Banks and all the way actually up into southeastern Maryland. And they said, outside of like a very, very small extreme drought just a couple years ago, this is the most widespread extreme drought we've had since the late summer to early fall of 2007. So it's been almost 20 years since we've had this bad of a drought. So I'll be talking more about that, what an extreme drought means for our farmers. Remember, like this time of the year, it's Christmas tree growing season. How are the Christmas trees affected? How are crops affected? How are local bodies of water affected? We talked about that during our weekend newscast this past weekend about how there are lower levels of local bodies of water when it comes to the water levels that officials are advising certain type of boating restrictions because they want you to be safe and not hit those shallower waters. Yeah. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow with my weather nugget. Those are just the little nuggets you see, or stories you see of meteorologists taking small events and or small things that we don't really have much time to talk about and breaking them out a little bit further. But that small strip of the moderate drought, that tan color, that's the only areas in both Virginia and North Carolina that are underneath a moderate drought. The rest of the states are underneath at least a severe, extreme, or exceptional drought. So we are lucky that we are not in a widespread severe drought. We are the only area in both states to not be underneath a higher drought than that.
Yeah, and luckily, I suppose, in some ways, that is right in our viewing area. But there's parts of our viewing area, like you said, that are up in those darker colors and have those more extreme drought conditions.
Exactly.
So now we have what we've been hearing today and what you've been saying about the rest of the week. Is this going to cure this issue, for lack of a better word?
I don't think it will cure it. I do think that it will put a pretty good dent in our rainfall deficit because we picked up easily, half an inch of rainfall to closer to an inch in North Carolina over the weekend. I'm sure we'll add another half an inch or inch today, and then over the next couple of days, maybe another inch or so. So that would give us maybe over the course of 5 to 6 days, about 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. So that won't really do much to completely alleviate the drought, but I could see some areas maybe slowly getting back into a moderate drought or slowly getting back into a severe drought, getting to lower levels of drought, but it won't completely cure it, unfortunately. We definitely need more rainfall than this.
Okay.
Now, the rainfall does continue until very early Thursday morning. After that, we dry out. So Thursday afternoon into Friday should be fairly nice, low to mid 80s with sunshine, but by the weekend, isolated showers return and temperatures will be a bit cooler, highs at best in the mid to upper 70s.
Okay, love that. Friday does look like a good pick by the fellas, Hunter and Craig. Friday looks nice. Is Saturday going to be a don't make any plans day? I guess we got to get a little closer.
No, I would just say just keep an eye to the sky day. I think just like this past Saturday and Sunday, there was a risk for showers. There were times where, 2 to 3 hours would be dry, and the next hour or so would be rainy. Just pay attention, and I'm sure that once we get closer, depending on how far south this SALT front moves, will determine whether we raise or lower rain chances. So the weekend is very fluid. I will say though, temperatures not so much. The trend is that it will be cooler this weekend.
And we're Wednesday, 50% storms possible, 86 degrees.
Yes, that's really
hot
a summertime.
And rainy.
Hot, humid, and rainy.
Sheesh.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good to know. We will maybe break out the small portable fans. Naya, do we have live impact news, small portable fans?
We don't. We should ask for some.
Where are our sponsorships? We got to get these things going in here. Taylor, what else do we need to know?
That's about it.
That is about it. Okay.
I guess one thing is that severe weather season ends on Sunday? When is June 1st?
June 1st
Maybe
is
Monday?
Monday.
Okay, so severe weather season ends on Sunday, and hurricane season starts a week from today.
Okay, very good to know. And I'm sure we'll have, as we kind of move through, lots of stuff to get you prepped for hurricane season. We've been talking about that El Nino and what it could do to some of our activity here in the Atlantic. So plenty more coverage to come on that. But for now, Taylor, we appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
4 o'clock, or are you done for the day?
4 o'clock, I'll be there.
All right, Taylor Stevenson at 4 o'clock on 13 News Now proper. For us here on the app, we are going to head to a commercial break. When we get back, Memorial Day events to come. Stay with us. All right, welcome back here to Live Impact News on the 13 News Now app. We very lucky to have Taylor Stephenson here in the studio today, starting the week off with that forecast. Always critical, so you can kind of start to prepare for what's to come, both when it comes to your commute, any events or activities you may have planned, and then, of course, that upcoming weekend, that really good-looking Friday forecast. As it stands right now, that seems like it is going to be a perfect day, sandwiched in between a lot of rain. Can we once more pull up a sky cam or two, Naya? This rain is sort of just gone from being a little sporadic to slightly more constant now. There's that shot of downtown Norfolk. This is a beautiful shot. I love this camera as you kind of get that Norfolk skyline, that real cluster right there in the center. And you can tell there's just that sort of hazy, constant rain that is coming down here in Norfolk. It is quite gloomy out there. Now, if we were to go to City Center in Newport News, I think we actually get a slightly more sunny disposition.
I
but
was
then
just about to say, it looks like the sun is coming out.
it does, doesn't it?
A little bit. I think it's like peeking through the clouds. I don't think it's clouds. I don't think it's gonna come out completely.
Is this rainbow weather, Naya? Post rain, little bit of sun.
I think it is. And I was also gonna ask you, were you out and about over the weekend?
I was.
Did you like see how it was like the rain was stopping for some hours and then like out of nowhere it would just start raining again?
We had incredible fortune when it came to the rain. We were able to dodge it so successfully. We never got caught in it. We were able to do, we weren't outside a ton, but and so I definitely noticed that, and we were just very blessed with when the rain decided to hit in Virginia Beach, because we were able to kind of miss it. And when it wasn't raining, it actually felt really nice outside.
Right.
Wasn't super hot, but it wasn't cold either. No, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. Were you having the same experience?
For sure.
Did y'all get caught?
No. Well, a little bit. Once it started to drizzle, we were like, all right, time to go.
Yeah.
But we had already had our fun, did our little thing, It was just time.
Oh,
the rain was like, all right, it's time.
Oh, please tell us more. Don't hold back on any details. What is it? When you say we had our fun, I Campbell, the people want to know what you're up to.
We just were out and about, down in Virginia Beach, taking it.
And the vague cliches continue from Nia Campbell. But yes, same exact experience, right? If maybe there's a little drizzle coming, you get out of there. At one point, we kind of had one of those things where people started to sense it. They were like, okay, I think there's rain coming. You kind of get the vibe. And so we got out of there and went and found cover. So yeah, we made it work. I was really, really pleased with kind of how the weather ended up. And again, it looks like maybe it stopped out there at the ocean front for the time being. If you see all the tents along the boardwalk, there was a surf and art expo this weekend. A really cool sort of combination of events that might even still be going on right now. But they had both surfing and a lot of those vendors with unique art, jewelry sculptures, things like that. Let's see if we can, I believe it may have stretched into Monday. We'll kind of look this up live on the air. We can all do this together now. May 23rd to 25th. Yeah, so this is still going. The 17th annual Virginia Beach Surf and Art Expo still going. That's why all those tents are up. So if the rain is clearing, which it might be, and you want to continue to enjoy the Memorial Day weekend, you can head down to the Surf and Art Expo. Those tents are still up. You can still see all of the cool stuff that they have to offer out at this event. So head down to the Virginia Beach oceanfront if you have the day off and the rain is going away and you've gotten your relaxation and you want to make some moves here. Virginia Beach is still up and running. Now, also, if you want to do something that is a little bit more in line with the true purpose of Memorial Day, which of course is that remembering, honoring, and memorializing those who have sacrificed in order for Americans to be safe and to be freed, people who have given their lives on the field of battle, who have given their lives in service in order to make sure that that everything that America hopes to stand for is preserved. Then there are plenty of ceremonies throughout the area as well where they are very much focused on that task, including in Larchmont. There is Williamsburg, Virginia Beach. So plenty still to do if you want to get out and continue to be a part of Memorial Day events and activities. Now, speaking of Memorial Day events and activities, you see one that's happening live on your screen right now. That is not in Hampton Roads. That is in Washington, D.C. at this time. Washington, D.C. had a national parade earlier today. They had Arlington National Cemetery had multiple events. And then just moments ago, really, President Donald Trump wrapped up a speaking engagement that he had at Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. And so what we'll do now is we'll check in on the president of a speech that just concluded minutes ago. But we'll also keep an eye on this live look here. And we may bring this up from time to time just to show you how events are continuing as President Trump kind of gave his speech a little earlier today. So we're going to hop back and forth between these two things. For now, let's hear from the president.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. What a beautiful day, as it turns out. It's just perfect. We'd rather have this than the heat. It's just beautiful. It's always beautiful being here. My 5th time, and it never changes. Vice President Vance, Secretary Hegseth, Chairman Kaine, members of the Cabinet, members of the United States Armed Forces, veterans, and fellow citizens. Today, here at Arlington, a very special place that how burial grounds, battlefields across the country and around the world, we unite in solemn observance. With reverent hearts, we honor those who fell so that our republic might stand, those who died so that our nation could live, those who gave up their sacred light on earth so that the sublime light of American freedom would shine forever and ever. This Memorial Day, we salute them, we exalt them, and we thank them for all that we have and for all that they gave. They gave everything. God bless our fallen heroes. We're joined today by some of those they left behind, our incredible Gold Star families, incredible people. To every person here and across America who holds tight to the memory of a warrior taken from them, we will never, ever forget the ones you loved. Gold Star family members, please stand. Receive our thanks, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. My honor. Less than 6 weeks from now, our nation will reach a historic milestone, 250 years of majestic American independence. Something. But it's only right that first we remember the immense sacrifice that has been brought to us and this momentous anniversary year. That's what it is. It's a momentous year. Before we hail the founding, we honor the fallen. Before we celebrate the triumph, we pay the tribute. Before we crown the victory, we count the cost. Today, we are reminded that there could be no 4th of July without America's armed forces, and there could be no Independence Day without Memorial Day. We owe our liberty, our self-government, the glories of our history, and our very nation itself to the generations who paid for it with everything they had, the ultimate sacrifice. The first Americans to give their lives in battle fell on April 1775, when 8 patriots were cut down by redcoats. Those guns, they were shot on Lexington Green. They had answered the call to muster against a force 5 times their strength. They said at the time, the greatest in the world, in defense of their cherished rights and their cherished liberty. As the British approached Massachusetts, militiamen summoned destiny itself, saying, if they mean to have a war, let it begin right here. Talib Harrington was 23 years old when he accompanied his father to the green that day, torn apart from each other in the chaos of combat. That American son died trying to fight his way back to his father. He wanted to get back to Dad. Talib's cousin Jonathan was struck down at age 31, shot within the sight of his home, and his young wife and child who awaited his return. Jonathan crawled, bleeding, back to them to die on his own doorstep for a final, terrible but beautiful farewell. His widow and orphan were perhaps the very first Gold Star family in a long, unbroken chain that reaches up through the ages to us right here today. When our founding fathers put the ideas of the Declaration of Independence to paper in Philadelphia, they signed and sealed an oath that had already been written in blood by patriots at Lexington, Concord, and Bunker Hill. Their sacrifice birthed the most incredible and exceptional nation in all of history. And our nation is doing better today than it's ever done before. Right? That's right. The cause of independence exploded from that part of the American soul that will not be tamed, that will never be conquered, that will rather face death than to live as slaves to the arbitrary will of another. This is the unyielding spirit that has always set Americans apart and driven generations of American warriors into battle, their chests beating with the cry that says, we will govern ourselves. We will control our destiny. We will bow to no one but the righteous God who made us and who gave us our rights and blessed this land of free and the bravest of the brave. 10 days into the legendary Battle of the Bulge in World War II, Lieutenant Colonel Keith Ware led 11 men and a tank against entrenched German positions, the toughest positions anywhere in the world. Half the patrol, including Ware himself, were soon wounded, yet still he killed 5 enemy riflemen, demolished 3 German machine gun nests, forced a 4th to surrender, and captured the hill. For his heroism, he received the Congressional Medal of Honor. Unlike most drafted soldiers, Ware stayed in the Army and rose to the rank of general, a highly respected general. In Vietnam, as commander of the 1st Infantry, the Big Red One, they called it. Yeah. That's very nice. He led from the front, and in 1968, that's where he was shot down, surveying enemy positions for the famous assault on Hill 222. Known as the Fighting General, he's buried here in Arlington, and with us is his grandson and namesake, Staff Sergeant Keith Ware, an Air Force veteran. Keith, where are you, Keith? Where are you, Keith? Hi, Keith. Thank you very much. Great honor. We're also honored to be joined by a man who, like General Ware, is a veteran of the largest battle in U.S. Army history, the Battle of the Bulge. At 15, Harry Miller lied about his age to enlist and was soon fighting to stop the SS Panzer divisions as part of the famed 740th Tank Battalion, the Daredevils they were called. of which he is among the last surviving members at 97 years old. Within 6 months after the battle, Harry's unit lost 42 comrades. He's remembering them today. Sergeant Miller, it is a true honor to have you with us. Sergeant Miller. And he looks great. Thank you. Many of the greatest men of that generation followed along an epic path from World War II to Korea and to Vietnam. Major Charles Kelly was the father of aggressive dust-off helicopter flying that made Army medical evacuation pilots among the most fearless. In Vietnam, the greatest helicopter pilots, they say, that ever lived. Like Sergeant Miller, Charles enlisted to serve in World War II at age 15. He was wounded at the Battle of Aachen and went on to fight in Korea. But flying helicopter ambulances in Vietnam is what etched his name into history. Since I have been here, he wrote in 1964, we have evacuated 1,800 casualties. And in the last 3 months, we've flown 242 hours at night. No other unit can match this, and they flew the most dangerous routes probably in the history of warfare. 2 weeks later, under brutal enemy fire, Kelly refused to withdraw until he had loaded the wounded aboard. As he prepared for takeoff, an enemy bullet pierced his heart. Yet Charles Kelly's heroic life-saving style lived on. His comrades and command passed on to Captain Patrick Henry Brady, and 4 years later, Brady piloted 3 damaged helicopters in turn to evacuate an incredible 51 wounded warriors under intense fire like no one has seen up till that point. For this, he received also the Congressional Medal of Honor. General Brady is with us at 89 years old as we salute his fallen mentor, Charles Kelly. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Sergeant First Class Matthew McClintock enlisted in the Army in 2006 and became a very special Green Beret. In 2016, he found himself in an hours-long firefight with Afghan terrorists. When a comrade was severely wounded, Matthew wanted to find a landing zone for a medevac rescue. Very dangerous, horrible way to be flying. He was reminded on the dangers, but Matthew replied, "We have to save him. We have to do it." Running out in the face of mortars and rocket-propelled grenades, he went to work, but was soon gravely wounded. He was hit from every possible angle. Matthew fell that day, but the soldier he gave his life to save survived and thrived, and Matthew was awarded the Silver Star. We're deeply honored to be joined by Matthew's mother, Joyce, his widow, Allie, and his precious young son, Declan. Here to remember Matthew at his grave in Section 60, 10 years later. So Joyce and Allie and Declan, we salute Sergeant Matthew McClintock as an American hero. Please. Thank you. These are tremendous people. These are brave, brave people. In 2 wars recently, we've lost a total of 13 service members in Venezuela, which was a complete and total victory. We're working very closely with the Venezuela government right now. We took that over in one day. We lost no one in Operation Epic Fury. We lost 13 wonderful souls, wonderful, special people. These incredible men and women gave their lives to ensure that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror will never have a nuclear weapon. Oh, and they won't. They will never have a nuclear weapon. I'm sure you know that. One of them was Major Ariana Savino Lindsay, and we're joined by her great family, Omira, Darren, Zevin, and Wick. Stand up, please. Please. There he is. There he is. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vic. Thank you very much. To all of you, Ariana's selfless gift will not be in vain. Our debt to you is everlasting, and it's always going to end in victory. We're having victories all over the place, more than we've had in many, many decades. Scripture tells us, precious is the sight of the Lord, is the death of his faithful servants. 400,000 souls rest on these grounds, these beautiful grounds, in the sacred soil which is first consecrated in the hours of America's greatest division to be eternal symbol of national unity. It cannot be by chance alone that the very first service member laid to rest here in this place of supreme sacrifice was a Union soldier by the name of Private Christman, Private William Henry Christman of Pennsylvania, who died as 19 years old. He was a great young man, they say. Beside him are more than 18,000 other young men named William, over 20,000 named John, over 13,000 named James, joined over time by Isaac, Elijah, Earls, Hanks, Helens, Wands, Margarets, Marius, Donalds, not too many, and others whose names tell the true story of American greatness, and greatness it is. Here beneath arching trees and white stones so beautiful, these many are made one again, united forever as brothers and sisters in arms and children of our fathers in heaven. From coast to coast, from proud cities to humble towns, and from heartland fields, from every race and religion, they came because they could not bear the thought that the nation they loved so much might ask for heroes and hear no answer. But they answered, and they answered very, very loudly. At Ticonderoga and San Juan Hill, at Manila Bay and Midway, at Pointe du Hoc and Busan, the courage of the American warrior has forged a path through every sea and every place that's marked a trail to every corner on the earth. In 250 years, America's heroes have saved more lives, freed more captives, accomplished more good, and spread more hope than any other people at any time in the history of the world. Whole nations, no liberty today. Entire generations, no freedom. Billions and billions of people have been delivered from poverty, tyranny, and oppression because of the sacrifices we honor this day. That's why from Brittany to Sicily, from Panama City to Saipan, from the Netherlands to North Africa to New Zealand, this whole planet is adorned with memorials to America's fallen and to America's greatness, to their courage, carved in marble and engraved in the hearts of all of mankind. We will never forget you. From 1776 to 2026, America has always stood as a great and moral cause. Our warriors are no mere mercenaries. They are guardian angels who stride across the battlefields of history and stand watch over the highest and most beautiful plains the human spirit has ever seen, holding the line between liberty and tyranny, between civilization and barbarism, between good and evil. Wherever the American soldier walks, wherever he fights, wherever he fails, and wherever he falls, he does it for the destiny of a nation like no other. There's never been anybody like you. And for the fate of freedom on this earth, we salute you like nobody has ever been saluted before. By their deaths, those who have gone before us in battle have redeemed the promise of our founding for each future generation. They've not just made the ultimate sacrifice, they've offered the ultimate proof that we Americans do indeed love liberty. We do cherish the self-government given to us by our forefathers. We do believe with all our souls in the mission that God has given to America. And we do intend with all our strength and heart to hold high the torch our heroes handed to us, and we will never, ever let it fall. Thank you very much. You are special, special people. We love you all. God bless the families of the fallen. God bless the men and women who serve. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the playing of taps and the benediction.
All right, there you have it. Words from President Donald Trump on this Memorial Day, that ceremony wrapping up just before we came on air. Now, we are going to take another commercial break. When we get back, we also heard from Governor Abigail Spanberger on this Memorial Day at an event right here in the Commonwealth. That's coming up just after this. Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News here on 13 News Now Plus. I did not quite realize I was back on that. You noticed that, huh, Naya?
I did. I actually twice.
I was ready, and I actually even saw that it happened, but I just had a couple wires in the old brain just kind of fall apart there for a brief moment. But we're here, we're back, and Governor Abigail Spanberger spoke at a Memorial Day event earlier today, her first Memorial Day as governor of Virginia. So let's take a listen at what Governor Spanberger had to say here at a event in the Commonwealth that was held not too long ago, right around 11 o'clock or so. Let's listen in.
The James River, Virginians have gathered to remember. Through years of war, years of uneasy peace, through grief still raw and grief grown old, through seasons of doubt and seasons of resolve, every single year, we have come back here together to say in one unified voice that we have not forgotten. Because that is who we are here in Virginia. That is who we are as a Commonwealth. And this year, the 250th year since American independence and our quest for it, it is particularly poignant to pause and take stock of what that remembering really means. 2.5 centuries ago, a group of ordinary citizens made an extraordinary wager. They pledged their lives, their homes, and their sacred honor to the idea that Americans should govern themselves, that a nation built on the idea of freedom, a nation built on ideals, was worth fighting for. And Virginia was at the center of that wager from the very beginning. It was here, on Virginia soil at Yorktown, that General George Washington and his allies forced the British to surrender, ending the Revolutionary War. Nearly a century later, when the Civil War came, the bloodiest chapter in our national story, many of its chapters were also written in Virginia. In the Second World War, Virginia sent our sons and daughters to North Africa, to Poland, to the Philippines, and of course, to Normandy. It was in Normandy that 19 young men from the town of Bedford landed on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, June 6, 1944, and perished there. 4 more from Bedford died in the Normandy campaign. It was a Virginia community that suffered the highest per capita loss in that quest to free Europe. And throughout the 20th century, Virginians have served bravely in every corner of the globe. Thousands of names are on these walls from the wars in Korea and Vietnam, conflicts that tested not just the courage of those who served, but the character of our country, the country that sent them. And a generation later, Virginians who answered the call and gave their lives during the Persian Gulf War, their names are on this wall, heroes who sacrificed so much. And then came September 11th, 2001, when the Pentagon on Virginia soil was struck, where 184 people lost their lives, among them Virginians, so many men and women in uniform. It was an act of war aimed at the very symbol of American military strength, and Virginia absorbed that blow alongside the rest of the nation. And the years that followed, it was Virginians, many of them stationed right here throughout the Commonwealth, who answered that call once again. Thousands of Virginians to Afghanistan, Iraq, and hundreds lost their lives in the war in Afghanistan and the global war on terror, and now we continue to have so many Virginians who risk everything for the cause of freedom across the globe. But service has always been part of Virginia's shared history, and today nearly 714,000 veterans call Virginia home, roughly 1 in 12 of our 8.8 million residents. In addition to being home to the Pentagon, Virginia is home to the Naval Station Norfolk, the largest naval installation in the world. More than 100,000 active duty and reserve personnel are stationed here right now. And that is precisely why this place, the Virginia War Memorial, and specifically the Shrine of Memory, matters so deeply. Nearly 12,000 names are inscribed on these walls, and yesterday, an extraordinary group of volunteers came and read those names aloud, every single one. A marathon of remembrance that stretched from Sunday afternoon into the night. 12,000 names spoken into the Virginia air so that not one would pass in silence. 12,000 names, and yet we all know they are more than names. They are sons and daughters who promised they'd be home by the holidays, husbands and wives who left behind half-finished letters, so many of them young people stepping forward to serve our nation at a time of peril. Every single one of them had a story to tell, dreams that were never fully realized, and talents that the world never got to see. We do not come to the Virginia War Memorial today, or any other day for that matter, to look past that profound loss. We come here to look directly at it because it is the most honest way to honor those 12,000 Virginians. In a few moments, the memorial bell will ring 4 times for 4 new names that have been added to the Shrine of Memory in the last year. So I want to take a moment with those names. First Lieutenant Carl Livesey of Lee County, Virginia. He served as a navigator on a B-29 Superfortress in the U.S. Army Air Corps. His plane went down over the Pacific on a bombing mission over Japan in 1945. He and his crew were never recovered. Sergeant Robert Heel of Norfolk worked at the Naval Shipyard before World War II, and he later enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Corps in 1943 and served as a radioman on a B-29 Superfortress. His plane collided with another during a training mission over India. He was never recovered. During the Korean War, U.S. Army Corporal Theodore Landy of Norfolk was taken prisoner by North Korean forces and marched to a camp on the banks of the Yalu River, where he later perished from malnutrition. He, too, was never brought home. And finally, U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Mark Stetz, Jr. of Virginia Beach. He served for more than 20 years in the military, and after the September 11 attacks, he served in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and later 2 deployments in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. He worked in Army psychological operations, work that required civilian clothes and quiet courage in places that never made the news. And on a February morning in 2010, he and 2 colleagues were on their way to a ceremony marking the reopening of a girls' school, a school rebuilt with American help, when a roadside bomb took his life. He left behind a wife, 3 daughters, and his parents. For some of these new names, it took years of meticulous research, of refusing to give up, and to finally bring them here, to these walls, to finally say their names in full alongside those who also gave the ultimate sacrifice to a grateful nation and a grateful Commonwealth. And I think about what it means to a family to finally see a grandfather's name, a great uncle's name inscribed here, to know that Virginia remembers, to know that we remember. And think about it, what it says about us, that so many generations on, we are still working to make sure that no memory is left behind, no name is left unsaid. That is the promise this memorial makes, and that is the promise the Commonwealth of Virginia keeps. On Memorial Day, we grieve. It is a hard day, because somewhere in our Commonwealth, a child is finally old enough to understand what a folded flag on a bookshelf really means, and carrying that understanding for the very first time. And we honor the Gold Star families, the ones who keep living after the hardest possible thing happened. Their grief is not private. It belongs to all of us, and we carry it together. We carry it together, but we must also ensure that we are remembering those they've lost. 250 years ago, a brave group of individuals, most of them from Virginia, bet their lives on the idea that this nation and this Commonwealth, that it would be worth it, and they were right. And the men and women on these walls, they made that same bet in their own time, in their own way, and they were right too. And our job, our shared responsibility, is to be worthy of their sacrifice, to build a Commonwealth and a country equal to the sacrifice that built it, to give life to our extraordinary ideals by carrying it forward for those who served, and by remembering those who fell. And today, on a hillside in our capital city, Virginia is doing that work. Today, 4 new names join the nearly 12,000 already inscribed here, and with the tolling of the bell, we say them. And we say to them what this memorial has always said: we see you, we honor you, we will not forget, and we will endeavor every day to ensure that our nation and our Commonwealth are worthy of your sacrifice. On behalf of a grateful Commonwealth, thank you. Thank you to all who have served. Thank you to those who have given everything. And thank you to those who loved them lost them, and carry them still. May they rest in the peace that they helped make possible, and may we, all of us together, prove worthy of the gift that they left behind for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Governor. The Shrine of Memory holds the names of nearly 12,000 Virginians who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And as the governor just remarked, we often discover through research or notification by friends or family that names have been inadvertently omitted over the years in the shrine. And then we can add them that they may be honored with all the rest. And that's why it is so important for Virginians to remember that this is your war memorial. We rely on friends, we rely on families to visit the Virginia War Memorial, to look for the names that they know should be there. And every so often, someone lets us know a name is missing. Record keeping wasn't perfect in the 1950s or the 1960s. Every so often, a deserving name is left out. And it's so important that we find those missing names and we add them to that place of honor where they've deserved to be for so long. Some years we add a name or two, other years no names are added at all. However, this past year, as mentioned, we added 4 names to the Shrine of Memory. 4 identities, 4 sets of families who have been waiting for their rightful place etched in glass and stone. We will now ring the memorial bell for each one. Sergeant Robert B. Heel, U.S. Army Air Forces, World War II. First Lieutenant Carl Livesey, U.S. Army Air Forces, World War II. Corporal Theodore Landy, U.S. Army, the Korean War. Staff Sergeant Mark A. Stetz, Jr., U.S. Army, Global War on Terrorism. Thank you.
All right, so not just hearing from Governor Spanberger there, but getting to see a part of the ceremony, right? A part of the Memorial Day events and the ways in which different states and organizations and people choose to honor those who have sacrificed in service, and that one example right there. Now, coming up after the break, we have another event that took place a little earlier in the day, up a little further up the East Coast. We also have a live event getting ready to start that we don't have a ton of information on, but that is firing up right now as we speak in the Lone Star State. So we're going to keep an eye on all of this as we return with more Live Impact News. All right, we're back here on Live Impact News. We're actually going to throw it up to New York City. Our live event in Texas hasn't started yet, so we are headed up to New York City, where Mayor Zohran Mamdani and other armed services officials were speaking earlier today at a Memorial Day event.
Board of Trustees and the entire Intrepid team. It's an honor to welcome you to our annual Memorial Day ceremony, and thank you so much for coming out in the rain for this extremely important day. We extend a very special greeting to those military personnel and veterans who are here today. We thank you for your commitment to the security of our nation, and we salute you for protecting the freedoms that we enjoy in this country every day. Welcome to all of you who are watching at home, whether in New York, across the country, or around the globe. Thank you for making us a part of your Memorial Day. I'm honored to present our special guests, and I ask that you hold your applause until they are all introduced. President, Intrepid Former Crew Members Association, Mr. Larry Arnold, co-chairman of the Intrepid... All right, you're allowed to applaud. Co-chairman of the Intrepid Museum, Mr. Ken Fisher. Speaker, New York City Council, Ms. Julie Menin. Commander, U.S. Fleet Forces Command, Admiral Carl Thomas. And the 112th Mayor of the City of New York, Zohran Mamdani. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise if you're able for our national colors as they're advanced by the 2nd Battalion, 25th Marines Color Guard, and please remain standing for the performance of our national anthem by Tony Award-nominated actress, currently starring in Operation Mincemeat on Broadway, Julie Nightel. Present the colors. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you. You may be seated. Julie, that was beautiful. I have to say, everyone has to go see your show. That was awesome. I am very pleased to recognize distinguished guests who have joined us this morning. And again, I do ask that you please hold your applause until the end. United States Congressman Dan Goldman. Representing the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Veterans Services, Veterans Benefit Advisor Brian Romick. Here. United States Coast Guard Captain of the Port of New York, Jonathan Andreychuk. Commissioner, New York City Department of Veterans Services, Yesenia Mata. And Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Dr. Helen Artiaga. Thank you for being here. On Memorial Day, we honor all of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice protecting our nation and our freedom, and we recognize how especially fitting it is that we do so here, inside this legendary aircraft carrier, Intrepid. Throughout Intrepid's history, 250 of its sailors gave their lives aboard this ship and in the skies above. And some of the brave men who served with them are here.
Okay, we come back into the studio here because our event has just gone live in Texas. We know Senator John Cornyn is speaking. We don't know what it's about, but it is live. So we're going to head out to that now. We can always get back to the event at the Intrepid Museum in New York City. For now, out to Texas.
Obviously, I've worked with the president a long time, and I want him to be successful. I'm proud of my voting record, supporting him 99.3% of the time, and appreciate his comments about me in the early stages of this runoff, where he called me a good man and a friend. So nothing has really changed, but obviously the president is entitled to make his pick. But I tell you, I've represented Texans a long time, and I know Texans are a pretty independent breed, and people will be making their own choices.
Senator, it seems like there's two schools of thought about voter turnout. It seems like the first was that the higher the turnout, the more favorable to you. And on the contrary, it seems like in runoffs, historically, the more conservative Republicans that might lean more towards Ken Paxton are going to show up in the early voting period. I know the Secretary of State's tally at the year was 820,000 votes. Your own official account tweeted out an X yesterday. And I know the early voting tally for the 2-week period in March was about 1.3 million. So it's not substantially less, it's more than half. But I know that you alluded to the figure that you expect about 40 to 45% of the total vote in comparison to the primary March. What school of thought do you fall under? I know, again, when you spoke on Friday, you emphasized that the higher the turnout, the more favorable. And I know that your campaign's been highlighting that and emphasizing that as well. But can you attribute maybe the surge in early voting to the president's endorsement? I know early in the week on Wednesday, it was only at about 150,000. And then, over the course of the next 3 to 4 days, it rose to near 820,000. So do you attribute that to the president's endorsement or to your turnout strategy and your significant spending?
Well, we've been working very hard to encourage more people to vote. It seems a shame that the most sacred privilege we enjoy as Americans and as Texans is our ability to choose our own leaders and not delegate that to somebody else. So you can probably find as many opinions as you can, people, on how this is going to come out, but we really won't know until tomorrow evening, probably close to 8 or 9 o'clock. But the numbers that we've seen early voting, roughly, I think 829,000 roughly so far, in early voting tend to be coming from places where we did well in the March 3rd primary. But again, about probably 40% or more have not voted yet and will vote in tomorrow's election. So I think it's anybody's guess at this point. But I think we're very much in the game, and I'm very happy with the efforts we've made to encourage more people to vote and to try to continue to represent the state of Texas as I have done for many years now.
In continuation of that, are you optimistic that 4 counties with more than 25,000 residents, 25,000 voters, you obviously did extremely well in the urban centers, metropolitan areas in the primary March 3rd. Are you optimistic? Are you excited about the fact that the 4 counties with over 25,000 voters, those have matched over 50% of
Yeah, I mean, Texas is a big, diverse place, and of course, 254 counties, people will get to vote, and but a lot of attention were the big vote-rich counties, which are obviously Dallas, Fort Worth, the Metroplex, Houston, San Antonio, Austin. But I tell you, I've strained my brain trying to figure out what it all means and extrapolate that to tomorrow night. And I don't think anybody knows is a basic answer. But we have done extraordinary things to try to encourage people to vote, because I think that's important to our democracy and our right to self-govern. But it's going to be lower than on March the 3rd. That's pretty much for sure. We just don't know how much and how that vote will be distributed.
Yeah. You've done a few things that people would interpret as pleasing Trump in recent months and years. Obviously, you're voting 99% with him, as you've said in the campaign ads, the interstate name change and so on. After kind of all of that, why do you think that his endorsement still fell on the other side of your favor?
I mean, there's one person that knows the answer to that, and it's not me. That's the president's call. But again, I expect Texans will be the ones actually casting their ballot. And we tend to be kind of independent sorts, and people will listen, and maybe that'll have some influence. But I think in the end, it's going to be the verdict of the people in Texas who actually get a chance to vote in this election.
Going back to this event, what will your message be to these individuals?
What? I'm sorry?
Going back to this event?
Yeah.
What will your message be to these individuals?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for going back to the event. Well, as I said, this is my favorite event of the year because these young people make you feel good about everything that's happening in our country, that these young people who are extraordinary students, but they're also usually extraordinary athletes, extraordinary leaders, even at a very young age. And these are the folks who've been selected to go to our service academies with full rides, and will be the next generation of military leaders. And even if they don't stay in the military for the rest of their professional career, they will learn skills and leadership that will stand them in good stead, even if they leave to go into the private sector. So this is really for their benefit because we want to celebrate their success. We want to give their parents a chance to celebrate the success of their child, which they certainly supported and contributed to. And like I said, this is the best event of the year because everybody celebrates their patriotism and their high achievement and wishes to send them off in a good, strong way.
Going back to the election here, either way, whatever happens tomorrow, there's going to be James Talarico and the Democrats to contend with in November. I want to ask you how worried you are about the threat that they pose both in the election and also if Democrats are successful in November. What does that mean for the state of Texas?
Well, we haven't elected a Democrat to a statewide office since 1994 in Texas. And I'm proud of my contribution to helping build the Republican Party. And the state of Texas is the most conservatively governed state in the country. And I think the success speaks for itself because people are voting with their feet to coming to our state because we are a land of opportunity and where the American dream is still very much alive. But I think all of that's at risk depending on how this primary runoff turns out, because I think Ken Paxton's flaws and the baggage he brings to the general election is going to be exploited to the fullest by James Talarico and by Democrats. James Talarico raised $27 million in just the first quarter of this year. So there will be a tsunami of money coming into the state from outside the state. But then it's not only that Senate seat he puts at risk, it's also all the down ballot races. State legislative races, local races like the judges and the like. A lot of the Senate race is at the top of the ticket in the midterm election, so President Trump's not running, so the Senate race will be at the top. And I believe that I would be in a better position to help provide a significant margin of a winning margin, not only in my case, but also to help everybody down ballot. Again, I don't think the Attorney General could do that because of the significant baggage he brings into the race, which jeopardizes success from the top to the bottom.
Right. Thank you, Senator.
All right. Thank you all for coming out.
Okay, so Senator John Cornyn there from Texas giving that press conference, answering questions from the media ahead of a runoff tomorrow to see who will be the Republican nominee to run for Senate against Democratic nominee James Tallarico. Now, Cornyn was first elected in 2002, and he has held that Senate seat ever since. He's facing off against Attorney General Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton. Neither of them received more than 50% of the vote in the actual primary in March, so now we have this runoff. Now, what is going on here, bigger picture-wise, is that President Donald Trump has endorsed Ken Paxton, and he has been vocal in his support of Paxton after Cornyn has occasionally opposed the president during his time as senator. You heard him mention that his voting record in which he votes with Trump is well above 90%. I can't remember the exact number he said, but it was above 90% of the time. But for whatever time he has disagreed with the president, President Trump now seemingly looking to get him out of the Senate and backing Ken Paxton in this particular runoff. Now, we saw this happen with Thomas Massie in Kentucky. Massie had, while voting with Donald Trump, a massive majority of the time had occasionally gone against him. Trump went and supported an opponent of Massie, and Massie ended up losing his seat. Now, Massie, in his rally after the loss, was quite honest and maybe sort of indicated that his presence on the national political scene would not go away anytime soon. If anything, this entire ordeal seemed to raise Thomas Massie's profile, but John Cornyn looking to just win this race and maintain his seat. He's 74 years old, and again, he's a four-term senator since 2002, John Cornyn, and now he's up against this challenge that involves the president as a part of his opposition, essentially. Let's see here. Let's make sure that we have all. It does appear as though, at least based on some USAtoday.com reporting, that John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader and a conservative himself, will continue to support Cornyn in this race rather than Paxton going against the president himself. Cornyn, again, has criticized President Trump from time to time and gone against him. Let's see, I'm making sure I have all information for you that you may need, because while this will determine who runs in the Republican spot in that Texas Senate race, it also is an indication of where President Donald Trump's influence lies right now, with approval numbers sagging during the war in Iran and seeing gas prices go up and inflation rise. So how much control and impact does he still have within his own party? The situation in Kentucky seemed to indicate it was still immense. We'll see what happens tomorrow in Texas. Okay, let's do another commercial break here. When we get back, we'll go back to Virginia politics, we'll actually head back to New York City to hear from Zohran Mamdani at a Memorial Day event in the Big Apple. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News here. We are about 75% of the way done with our stream, which means we still have 30 minutes left to bring you the news of the day. And obviously, really, the theme of the day is Memorial Day, of course, as we continue to honor, memorialize, and remember those who have given their lives to protect America and America's freedoms. And that includes the Intrepid Museum earlier today in New York City. The Intrepid Museum actually in some ways similar to Norfolk, the USS Wisconsin, a large battleship at the center of it, and then a lot of military history around it. And Zohran Mamdani will speak at this event, as do members of the armed service. So let's listen in once again.
Appreciated. So thank you very much for your service too, sir. Well, good morning. Thank you, and I'm certainly honored to be back in New York City, and thank you for your continued support for our naval and military forces, along with the more than 50,000 first responders who work here in New York City. New York City has and always will be a true supporter of our men and women in uniform, regardless of branch or community. Mayor Mamdani, thank you for joining us today. Your presence speaks to the deep respect that this city holds for our military and for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. We are grateful for your leadership and for New York City and their enduring partnership. To our many distinguished guests in attendance, our Gold Star families, our veterans, our intrepid sailors sitting here in the first row, service members, families, welcome. And it's fitting that we gather here on board a towering monument of America's resolve and with her unyielding spirit. We're deeply grateful to the Intrepid Museum. Every day this institution fulfills a profound mission, advancing the understanding of history and innovation to honor our heroes and inspire the generations who will follow. Today they offer us this steel sanctuary as a venue moored in the greatest city in the world, to pause and to reflect. Thank you. Memorial Day is a day where words often feel entirely insufficient. We pause the frantic pace of our lives to sit with a heavy, sacred silence, the silence left behind by those who never came home. As I saluted the ensign of Intrepid as I came aboard, I was overwhelmed by a profound sense of fortune. I am reminded that the safety of our homes and the unbroken continuity of the American way of life are immense, irreplaceable gifts. I stand before you as an exceptionally fortunate inheritor of a peace that I did not purchase myself. And I am deeply humbled knowing that my ability to address you today, to reflect and to celebrate and to look to our future, is a direct result of the men and women, our veterans, who have stood the watch in uniform and those who are currently standing the watch, forward, around the globe, at this very moment. They are actively securing the peace. They are carrying the torch far from our shores, and they continue the proud legacy of those that we are here to remember. This year, our nation marks a monumental milestone, the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States. Navies and sailing ships from around the world will sail into this great harbor. Just last year, our United States Navy celebrated its own 250th birthday, tracing our watch all the way back to the Continental Navy, a young Navy whose culture, sailors, shipbuilders, and privateers were heavily influenced by New York City. In fact, many of our famous and storied ships, to include the USS President, our sixth and final original frigate, and the battleships Missouri and Arizona, were built in this maritime city. It is a time of profound national pride, and I look back at 2.5 centuries of grand American experiment, a nation formed by an unwavering commitment to liberty justice, and an unyielding spirit of resilience. But our shared history comes with a solemn reality. Our enduring freedoms, our prosperity, our security, they did not simply happen. Our way of life was not preordained. What began as our founding fathers' fragile experiment has grown into the world's beacon of freedom, democracy, and strength. It was defended fiercely and at times violently every step of the way. Every year added to our nation's enduring timeline, every generation that has grown up under the protective shield of freedom that we so enjoy was bought and paid for by those who stepped forward when their country called. They did not hesitate, they answered the call. Today we take a few solemn moments to pause and to recognize their service and the immense sacrifice. Gathering in remembrance, as we have in some capacity since 1868, is only possible because of those who willingly traded their futures to secure the collective future of our great nation. The sacrifice of those who made the trade represents the true, staggering cost of freedom. It is almost impossible to fully comprehend the sheer scale of the lives given over 250 years. We cannot grasp it in numbers alone. We see it instead in the endless rows of white marble. We see it at Arlington, on the quiet bluffs of Normandy, and resting right here in New York City at Cypress Hills and St. Albans. Behind 2.5 centuries of American security and strength is an immeasurable human toll. It is a ledger written in dreams left unrealized, empty chairs at family dinner tables, and lives cut short so that our nation could endure. And as we honor the fallen, we are indebted to the families that they left behind, our Gold Star families. We know that while their loved ones gave their lives for our country, it is the families who carry the enduring weight of that sacrifice every single morning. Their resilience is the very backbone of our nation. The debt that we owe them cannot be repaid. It can only be continuously and reverently honored. As we stand within the hallowed United States ship Intrepid, it is fitting to reflect on her service and her name. To be intrepid is to be resolutely fearless, dauntless, unshaken by the storm or the enemy. Just as the sailors who served on this deck more than 80 years ago in the Gilbert and Marshall Islands campaigns, the battles of Leyte Gulf and Okinawa, while conducting Tokyo air raids and sinking the Japanese super battleship Yamato. Extraordinary battles and events that strike both a patriotic and a somber chord of remembrance of the sacrifice that we are gathered to honor today. Regardless of branch of service, the heroes that we remember today shared a singular, selfless love for this country and for one another. Not without fear, but with an intrepid resolve that was always stronger than fear. We live every day with a debt that we can never truly repay. We honor our veterans and those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice through profound gratitude and by never taking the gift of our freedom for granted. But our responsibility does not end with remembrance. We must look forward. We must ensure that their sacrifice was not in vain. For the men and women who answer the call and wear the uniform today, the legacy of those who have gone before us serves as both a solemn reminder and a sacred charge. We must be disciplined and committed, resolute in our conviction to always be ready and to fight and win when called. As the commander of United States Fleet Forces, I can tell you without hesitation or without pause that our forces are ready, and they have the watch. Thousands of sailors, soldiers, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen are engaged forward far from our shores. Your Navy and Marine Corps team is plying the waters just off our shores to every major sea and waterway around the world. I know this crowd gathered today understands that sacrifice more than most, and I know we are all thankful for their service. I have but one simple ask, that each of us continue to carry the memory of those who made the ultimate sacrifice, not just in our own quiet reflection, but as an active source of strength, purpose, and unwavering resolve. There are many in our great nation that will see today as a holiday, who may not actively reflect, or who may take for granted the freedoms that they so richly deserve. It is our collective responsibility to not take our freedom for granted, for it is not free. Through our national resolve, I am confident that we will ensure another 250 years of security, prosperity, and freedom. We will do this by strengthening our vigilance, reinforcing peace through strength, and facing tomorrow with a uniquely American, intrepid spirit. May God bless our fallen heroes. May God bless the families who bear their loss. May our nation bless the men and women standing the watch today. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
All right, so that event ongoing in New York City, you can hear the passion from the crowd there as soon as he finished speaking, an immediate response from those who are gathered at that event. We are going to take another commercial break here on Live Impact News. When we come back, more to come, more coverage likely of this event and other things that we've got going on here. All right, welcome back here to Live Impact News. We're going to head back out to the Intrepid Museum for more on that event. Let's do a little bit of note on the Intrepid Museum. This is a really interesting place here. This is a private nonprofit founded in 1982 with the acquisition of the storied World War II aircraft carrier Intrepid. It's a National Historic Landmark and centerpiece of the Intrepid collection. Over 1 million visitors annually from around the world. So more expansive and more involved perhaps than our USS Wisconsin-based museum here in Norfolk at Nauticus, but kind of has that same core principle, right? Based around military and service, and based around a massive ship at the heart of it. So I thought that was interesting. I wanted to share a little bit of that background before we head out. Once again, we just got to hear from a service member with a really, really poignant speech, and now we expect Zohran Mamdani to speak at some point here. So let's listen in.
Thank you. And I'd like to call again Ken Fisher, co-managing partner of Fisher Brothers and co-chairman of the Intrepid Museum, for the next introduction.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks again, Susan. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. Mr. Mayor, Admiral Thomas, Speaker Menon, former crew members, Gold Star families. As we gather here today aboard this historic aircraft carrier Intrepid, we do so with gratitude and reverence. Memorial Day is one of our nation's most solemn observances, a day dedicated to honoring the brave Americans who gave their lives in service to our country and to the cause of freedom around the world. Their sacrifice spans generations, from the beaches of Normandy to the islands of the Pacific, the mountains of Afghanistan and beyond. But more than 1 million Americans have made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of this nation. Behind every name is a family forever changed, a future unrealized, and a legacy of courage that endures. Memorial Day is also a reminder that freedom is never guaranteed. It has been preserved through the selflessness, the duty and valor of those willing to place the nation above themselves. The men and women we honor today came from every corner of America, from every background and every walk of life, united by a commitment to something greater than themselves. Memorial Day calls on us not only to honor the fallen, but to ensure that their sacrifice is never forgotten. At Intrepid, that commitment is central to our mission. We strive to connect new generations to the extraordinary service of stories of resilience and heroism that shaped this nation. Today, we remember all those who never returned home, the sons and the daughters, the husbands and wives, the friends and shipmates whose lives were given in service to America. We honor their sacrifice, we support those whose courage continue to serve, and we pledge that their courage and devotion to duty will live on in the hearts of future generations. Each year at this ceremony, we welcome the participation of dedicated public servants who join us in remembering our fallen heroes. As mayor of one of the world's greatest and most diverse cities, he carries forward a long tradition of public service, of civil leadership. So please join me in welcoming the 112th mayor of the city of New York, Mayor Zohran Mamdani.
Good morning, everyone. What an immense honor it is to mark Memorial Day alongside each of you today. I want to begin by recognizing the many active duty service members here with us. Thank you for the daily sacrifices you make, the time you spend away from family, the hardships you endure to keep us safe. I look out and I see the faces of countless veterans and military families, some of whose service only just ended and some of whom even served on the Intrepid years ago. We are so grateful for all that you have done for our nation. Thank you to the Intrepid Museum for hosting the ceremony today, and for the Intrepid's leadership for allowing us to take a moment to remember those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you to Susan Maranov-Zausner, Ken Fisher, and it's also a privilege to be joined by Admiral Carl Thomas, Commander of U.S. Fleet Forces Command for the U.S. Navy. I also want to acknowledge Captain Jonathan Andrzejczyk of the U.S. Coast Guard Port of New York and New Jersey, our City Council Speaker, as well as Larry Arnold, the President of Intrepid, former Crew Member Association, Bill Peters, former crew member and growler. I want to acknowledge our Congressman, our Commissioner, our Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, as well as the New York State Department of Veterans Services. Most of all, I want to take a moment to thank the Gold Star families and all those here today to remember and honor someone who has given their life in service. Let us vow to stand alongside you, our Gold Star families, not just today on Memorial Day, but frankly every day. As we heard from the Admiral and others, on July 4th, we will mark 250 years as a nation. 250 years since we came together as Americans to declare our freedom from tyranny and oppression. 250 years where we have lived in this country side by side, working every day to become just a little bit more free, to fulfill the promise upon which we were founded, that all men are created equal. As each of us enjoy the fruits of lives of peace and freedom, homes where we are safe at night, children who learn and grow in school, let us always remember that none of this was promised. It was won by sacrifice, and it must be cherished. Here at the Intrepid, I can't help but think about all those who stood on this ship before and what they saw as they steamed for faraway waters. I think of the sailors and the Marines on the Intrepid's maiden voyage, standing on deck late at night in January of 1944, heading towards the Marshall Islands. The lights would have been off to make her a harder target for Japanese submarines. The Fighting One would have likely been zigzagging for the same reason. We often forget how young those from whom we ask the most typically are. Thousands of officers and enlisted men would have been on board. Many were still teenagers. This was the furthest many had ever been from home. They hailed from every part of our country, from Alabama and Alaska, from Brooklyn and the Bronx. With the lights off, they sailed towards a horizon they could not see, to take on the threat of fascism that endangered so many. Some of those sailors never came home. As we've heard, the Intrepid absorbed torpedo impacts and kamikaze attacks, endured flooding and fires. They took a human toll. Men like Donald Dominic DiMarzo, the Intrepid's fire marshal, Alfonso Chavarrias, a gunner killed by a plane that hurled into the ship, who never got to grow into old age. Back home, after each attack, cars pulled up in driveways. A solemn knock was heard at the door. A telegram was pressed into a loved one's hand. The toll of freedom has been felt by generation after generation, by loss after loss. And still, this ship floats. And still, our nation is free. And today we remember those who made it so, those to whom we hold an obligation that can never be entirely fulfilled, to build a city and a nation worthy of their service and worthy of their sacrifice. I stand before you immensely humbled to serve as the mayor of New York City, to lead a city from which so many of our people have answered the call to serve. And I feel a deep responsibility to the more than 135,000 veterans here in New York City, their families, and our Gold Star families. It is a privilege to serve those who have served. And I want to use the trust and power placed in me by the people of New York City to ensure that our veterans and military families receive the services and the support they deserve. In the wealthiest city, in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we cannot simply accept that so many veterans must live with food insecurity, homelessness, and social isolation. As we mark the solemnity of this day together and remember all those we lost, let us also rededicate ourselves to practicing the values for which they laid down their lives. Let us each do our parts to ensure that our city remains a beacon of liberty for all, where every person here can live that life of freedom from cruelty, from oppression, and from want. Thank you very much.
All right, back here, live Impact News, as New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani finishing up with some comments there in New York City. Now, we are just about out of time here. Let's do some more looks around our area. We started the show this way. We're going to end the show this way. Let's take a look out in Newport News City Center to begin with here. It was much brighter, I think, almost when we looked at it before. The cloud cover seems to have increased quite a bit, and you can see there's definitely some wind blowing our fountains a little bit in one direction here. So perhaps a bit of maybe the gloomy weather that we saw here on the south side earlier in the day has perhaps moved a bit towards the peninsula. So a little bit darker, but still not any real visible rain that we can see out in Newport News. So that's Newport News. How about the oceanfront? The oceanfront, you can tell clearly from the beginning of our show, was soaked with rain for a period of time there. It was raining and raining relatively hard at the oceanfront for a while. The beginning of our show through the first maybe 20, 30 minutes or so, you can still see the remnants of that on the ground, but it has certainly cleared up. You see people walking around with shorts, jackets, a little bit of water on the ground, and then you get the overview here of the oceanfront altogether. It looks quite peaceful now. And of course, the Arts and Surfing Expo ongoing. You see those white tents down there. You can see right up towards Rudy's Inlet quite a bit of action there, a bigger tent. Not as many people. It was a pretty popular event over the weekend from what we've been able to tell anecdotally and ongoing now. And then the last time we saw this shot, there was a heavy sort of hazy mist coming down in Norfolk. That has cleared up. So here on the south side, it looks like a lot of the precipitation at least has cleared up quite a bit. Norfolk looking very nice now, and this is even maybe a little bit of sun coming into play down by Nauticus here. As you can see, the shadows indicate that there is a little bit of sunshine peeking through. So maybe things have turned here, at least briefly for the time being, as our area is starting to have a little bit more sunshine on this Memorial Day. And we know that so many of you are off work today, and the fact that you chose to spend some of that time with us here on Live Impact News really means a lot to us. We really appreciate it. We wanted to make sure that we checked in on a lot of different Memorial Day events. We feel like we did that. The parade had ended by the time we started our stream. The parade in Washington, D.C. had ended by the time we started our stream, but hours and hours of a lively parade in Washington, D.C. Earlier today, we got to hear from Governor Spamberger, President Trump, Mayor Mamdani, Mayor Zohran Mamdani in New York City, as well as some service members throughout the show. So it's an honor and a privilege to be able to have any of you watching on a day like today. And it is even more of an honor and a privilege to be able to memorialize those who, again, have given their lives, have given their time, have given their service to protect the United States of America and to protect the freedoms that the United States of America is so closely associated with. So we just can't really express our appreciation enough for the service community here in Hampton Roads and all throughout the United States. That's it for us here on Live Impact News. We are really glad that you joined us today. We hope you will again tomorrow. And 13 News Now at 4 begins in just over an hour. We'll see everybody later on or tomorrow. Have a good rest of the day.